When was the last time you saw Lennon?
Dude, about a foot ago, it seems like. This was when y'all came up for skiing.
To go snowboard and skiing?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago? 2.5?
No, that was probably, well, maybe.
It wasn't that far because we only skied another year and then we left. I think I'm just gonna.
He's taking his legs off, Lennon.
Mine's right here, Lennon.
Yeah, you totally get it. Oh, that feels good. Does that feel better?
Man, it does feel better. I got to be honest. It feels like fucking amazing.
So, you think he was a foot shorter?
He's tall. I mean, I'm damn near looking at him eye to eye.
Lennon, I think that you're taller than Charlie now.
Well, technically.
Minus the mechanics.
Right. It's a leg joke. It's not cool, is it, Lennon? Make fun of somebody's disability.
Anyway, so it is really good to see you, dude. I think it was probably 3 years ago. That was Lennon's first hardcore skiing. I mean,
and the dude was going like 90 miles. I couldn't keep up with him on a snowboard.
I can't keep up with him now, and it's a little uncomfortable, dude. Like, he hauls ass, dude. Do
you just not care? You just hit it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's on skis, man. It's hard to keep up with
I get it.
It's hard to keep up with anybody on skis.
Yeah. When are you going to grow up and do a board?
Never.
Oh, okay.
Why do you say that?
Yeah.
Why would I want to?
I don't know. His sister started to snowboard last year, and she crashed all day.
Yep, that's what you do.
Which I told her that she needs What was that? I told her that she needed 2 days of crashing, before she can actually have any fun.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure that that's the number.
It's funny because there's a singular moment you're like, wait, I'm controlling this, and that's when it's fun.
Well, and then you end up telling people on snowboards, it's easier the faster you go, which is the opposite of skiing, kind of. I mean, it's kind of true of skiing too, but with skiing, you can say, now let's make a pizza and let's go slow. And you could do that all day long. If you did it on a snowboard, you're going to crash all day long. You have to.
You have to go speed.
You absolutely have to pick it up. But anyway, so you are, where are you working these days?
Now I work full-time at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. This is where I started in 2005 in air medicine. From Mississippi, and that was the job. There was one aircraft, and there's 30, 40, 50 people always apply to try to get onto it.
Yeah.
And that's a whole
hospital-based?
Hospital-based, yep. And the aircraft is parked at the hospital. And I got hired. My boss told me at the time that it was a lack of options. But I knew that I wanted to do that when I was in paramedic school. And I remember going to my boss, like my 2B boss, and I said, how can I get on here as soon as humanly possible? And we wrote down like 7 things. She gave me like, do research or do something that makes you different, marketable, and make sure you have these certs. And when I got interviewed about 2.5 years later, I'm sitting there and they say, okay, well, look, you are just barely from a career standpoint old enough to get the job. Why? You only have 2 years experience. Why do we choose you? And I pulled that piece of paper out and I was like, well, there's 7 things here. And if there'd have been 20, I would have done 20 things. I should be here because I've done everything you told me to do, and I've done it with excellence. And it meant a lot for me to be here, to be considered. So I appreciate it.
And what year was that?
2005. That was months before Katrina.
So in 2005, you said, this is what I want to do.
More like 2002 when I was
a couple years before that. You said, this is what I want to do. I want to be a flight paramedic. I want to work on that helicopter, this place. This is what I want to do.
Yep. Because at the time I was trying to, I wanted to go to med school. And so I went to a college that would, that has a good, track record for getting folks into med school if you do well. And then I didn't get into med school. And so I was going to do something else to try to build up my resume to try to get into med school. And then while I was there, I mean, I wanted to do good grades. So then I started thinking, well, how do I be the best at this? And then you watch these guys in these blue flight suits walk by and people just got out of their way and they just did these amazing things. And I was like, yeah, how do I do that?
Yeah. Weren't we talking about that last night, dude?
Yeah.
We were talking about that. I was talking with Lennon last night about something, not about medical stuff, but there's kind of two different kinds of people in this world. There's ones that say, well, I deserve this. Why don't I have it? And then there's a much smaller group of people, at least it seems like anyway, who do what you just said. Yeah, this is what I want to do, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it. So that's badass. What was that? What was that first helicopter that was there? They had one helicopter back then.
Yeah, she was pretty. She was Bell 230, so it's basically like the 222.
Oh, I thought it was a 222.
Well, it is.
The
230 is really just, it was a little better engine and that kind of thing. It's a 230 or it's a 222. And, but like the exact one was a 230 and it just had a little bit better engine. And this particular one, they in the, I think they're called sponses. I'm such an ignorant, aviation worker. But like where the wheels would retract, they changed those out for bigger fuel bladders. And so, or fuel, tanks. Right. And so we got longer range. So, and then we had to put the skids on. But yeah, she was gorgeous, man. It was basically Airwolf. And that was 2005. Then of course, yeah, I think I get this job and I think I got everything figured out. I got the patch, I got the job, everything's going great. And the Katrina hits and I realize I know very little of what I really should know.
And how far is that from you?
My family, I grew up on the coast, on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in Gulfport, right there on the water, and Jackson's 155 miles. And so when it hit, I wasn't on shift. I came on the next day, but when we were in, is that it right there? Oh man, there she is.
I mean, that's a blurry version of it, but
yeah.
Oh, I see. So instead of landing gear, it's got the skids on it.
Yep, that's her. And of course, this right here is there's two helipads there. The funny thing was we had Bush came into town, and of course they locked down a trauma room. You know, like anytime the president comes in town or VP.
Right.
And so the 2 weeks before that, I'm done with a flight. I'm charting, and these two guys in suits who clearly were Secret Service were walking around, and they were just kind of sticking their nose and stuff. And you know, I kind of detected that they were doing something, and they kept calling each other gentlemen and thank you and sir. And it was just really interesting. So when they came up and they said, excuse me, the helipad, and he was kind of tiptoeing into, I was like, oh, it's rated for 12,500. And they were like, okay, thank you. And I was like, Marine One won't fit on it. And he stops, kind of looks.
Oh no.
You know,
that's crazy.
Yeah. And I just figured out that that's probably what they were trying to figure out, is they could fit Marine One up there.
What was it like flying in that 230?
It's a Cadillac.
I mean, it obviously, if you're a child of the 80s, I mean, that's the first thing you think of, but what's it like inside of it?
She's a lot of room. We could fit two patients there pretty easily. And when during Katrina, we were taking two patients, we'd land and we just put two sick people in there, intubated both. I mean, for a while they were all intubated. No way. Yeah. And one of us would bag, one of us, which was a horrible idea now.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But a lot of room. One thing I do remember, of course, in stark contrast of the air conditioner that I fly with right now, that air conditioner would toss little ice chips at you. And she was cold. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was cold she kept you comfortable no matter what part of the year. It was big. I mean, I always take my legs off in the aircraft. And I could just move around in that thing if I needed to. And it was a lot of room.
How would you fit two patients in? What would they be on?
So, the one seat, all right, so if I'm on the left side of the aircraft but facing backwards, that's where the patient normally goes. That's where we have our litter that comes in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Next to that, what we call the working seat, or my partner always called the nurse seat. That's a whole nother series of jokes. That seat folds flat, and we have just another
kind of like a bench
opens up
of some sort.
Foldable stretcher.
Oh, that's so badass.
Yep. And I mean, I would take my legs off and fit between those two. And so we'd put the head down there, and this patient's head was up here. And so I would just be down there ventilating and do whatever else we had to do.
That's insane. Mm-hmm. And so you're working at university, and this is 2005. How long did you work there back then?
I worked there through early 2010.
2010.
We had started our first remote base. And so that was in Meridian. So that was the 2009 to 2000, ending in 2010. That's when I met you, was 2010, because I moved out to Oklahoma. But
right. And so what was the outlying base helicopter? What were they flying?
We had a 135, and we had PHI was our vendor at the time, and they were great. They took good care of us.
So that's a tight fit in the back. I know
that's
big compared to like a Bell 206 or an A-Star. It actually is big, but compared to a 222 or 230,
and you're talking about
bizarre.
You're talking about like a foot here, a foot there. I mean, literally, it's like a couple feet. You're like, oh man, I got all the room in the world. In that particular 135, the two seats in the back face one another, and then there was one that you're at the head of the patient's head, and it was tight. I mean, the 135s we have now, we took one of those seats out, and we don't even have that extra seat.
Did that 135 have a stretcher or a sled system?
Some of them had a stretcher. It was a stretcher.
That's pretty cool.
Which was pretty cool. And although there's every piece of equipment has learning curves, and on that roof that we saw a second ago, there's these lights that are opposite of recessed. They just kind of sit a little bit above the landing lights. And that wheel on that stretcher is pretty small. And if it catches, there was once that I turned, and this
with or without a patient on it?
With the patient.
Oh, God.
Taps that light. And then I saw this patient's head right up here, and we caught him and safely got him down. But
that's terrible.
Good learning curve.
That's
idiot.
That's terrible. And so you're right. I was in Florida. And I think you came here for something cooler. I came here for a practice marriage. What brought you here? 2009, 2010. It must have been 2009. Had to have been late 2009.
No, I mean, I got here. I remember it was 2010. It was like January 4th, 5th.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay.
Yep. I was the base manager of that first remote base, and I had to make a tough decision, and I moved out there to try to make a Paralympic berth, try to play for Team USA volleyball.
And so what does that have to do with Oklahoma City?
Oklahoma City is where the Paralympic volleyball team trains. That's the training site, Olympic and Paralympic training site. And so
Paralympics, what is the definition of that in terms of how it coincides with the Olympics and like timing and the sports? Like, how do you define that to people?
That's a great question. And one of my coaches said once perfectly, I think, he said, if you want to talk about the Paralympics is the second largest tournament on the planet. And I was like, oh, that's a really good way to say that. The Paralympics happen in tandem with the Olympics. And as a matter of fact, it used to be the Olympic Committee and then the Paralympic Committee. Well, now it's the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. So over the last 13 years, man, watching the explosion and inclusion of the Paralympics as true sports, and it's been pretty cool to watch. But the Paralympics itself, you have to have some type of disability, and each sport has their own system of rules and that kind of thing that either includes you or excludes you. And but the Paralympics is held once every 4 years with the Olympics. I mean, it's the same
timing.
Almost, yeah. So the Olympics comes in, they do all their stuff, and then there's like a 1.5 week, 2 week cleanup where the U.S.A. people that work in Colorado all for 4 years. Well, they're out there for about 3 months on the front end and back end, getting everything done and cleaned up. So, but it's same time, same big production. People ask, what some of the best features are, and whether you're Olympic or Paralympic, you usually have the same answer. It's that tunnel, walking through the tunnel at opening ceremonies. You've already made it. You've already done all the good stuff, and now you're just you don't have to worry. You're not competing that night. It's just you're just walking out with that flag, and Man,
I don't think a lot of people know about that. So is it how does the competition feel to you? Were you already an athlete when you were younger with other things?
I played baseball and I was good for a while. And then, I wasn't in a position where, I apexed. I got as good as I was going to get, and that was it.
Yeah.
And that was frustrating. It's frustrating for any athlete when you get to that point. You're like, well, dadgummit, I just wasted all this time. It's not wasted because you learn a lot, obviously, with sports. But somebody turned me on to it. I started running. Really, was what it was. I ran they put these racing legs on me, and I ran like I was going to just jog and just stay in shape. And I ran I think it was a 5:44 mile. And they videoed.
Did you say a what?
Yeah, 5:44 mile. They videoed this, and then they this was like a Tuesday, and then on Thursday, this is back in Mississippi, and I get a phone call from my ex-wife says do you know anybody in Colorado Springs? Like, no. I answer the phone. It's like, yeah, hey, this is so-and-so and so-and-so with U.S.A. track and field. And we basically want you to start training full time. I was like, no, I got a job. And they're like, no, it's okay. You can run a circle anywhere. So I started running. I trained for like a year, and that got me into actually got me to UCO here in Edmond, just north of Oklahoma City in Oklahoma. And I competed running, but they also had a clinic for sitting volleyball. So volleyball has basically 3 disciplines. There's men and women's beach, men and women's indoor, and then there's men and women's sitting. And within 5 minutes of this clinic, this head coach of U.S.A. volleyball goes, hey, you're really good with your hands. Have you ever played? And I was like, well, I played, yeah, a little bit, but nothing organized. At the end of that 2 hours, he said, do you want to practice with us in the morning? We'd love to have you just come and see if you like it. And,
wow.
At the end of that practice.
And you have no ties to Oklahoma City at that point.
Nope. I mean, and now let's go back. Now I just got this great new job as a manager. I was the chief flight paramedic at our program. Started our first remote base with the plans to open more. Now we have 4 aircraft.
Your dream.
Yeah, the dream. I was into a PhD program, finishing a clinical sciences, working to learn how to ventilate people better, and I gave it all up to head to. The way I usually tell the story is I went to Oklahoma to go get a gold medal, and then I usually point at my wife and say, she's right there.
Oh God,
that's for you, baby.
Oh Marge.
Yeah, but that's what got me. That's what made me leave.
That's a good move. I gotta use that one.
Yeah, steal that.
Don't
let
this
see this one.
So this is a picture, Lennon. You got that pulled up. So this is a picture of you serving, and what's basically the rules of this? So this is called sitting volleyball.
Yep.
And you got how many people on each side of the court, on each side of the net?
6 and 6.
So it's still 6. And what's the big difference other than obviously you've got to sit, but what's some of the big rules? The
biggest one is when you make contact with the ball, some part of your trunk, typically you're sitting. So like they call it the cheek rule. When you make contact with the ball, one cheek needs to be on the ground. Now, if you're diving in like some incredible play to try to get a ball up and then you're kind of somewhat flat, like the ref or, they'll make a call if you just can't like sit up on your knees and run, you have to like move with your hands and legs. And so that's the one big one. Now the net, of course, is smaller, and the court is more narrow. And so if you think about it, when some of the guys like Dahlhauser and those guys, when they go to throw a jump serve, I mean that's a lot of momentum, and so there's a lot of power with that. So we don't clearly have jump serves, but the power that we can create, that they're serving balls, I think, and I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong. I'm pretty sure they hit around 60 miles an hour. So 50 or 60 miles an hour.
This would be standing regular men's volleyball.
Yep. Uh-huh. Our guys are clocking 40.
But from shorter distance.
From sitting.
So it makes me think like softball. Like people think, well, softball must be easier, but the girls they're throwing really hard, but they're right there.
Yeah.
So the distance, it almost seems like it's just as fast.
That's exactly it. And so it's smaller and more narrow, but people can hit hard. We were in Egypt competing in a tournament, and I got friggin' smoked in the face because I'm on the line. I'm not much further than me and you. Mm-hmm. And the person didn't close the block, and this guy's wide open and just smokes me in the face. And so it's like, all right,
Oh
and
my
we
God.
talked about it, like, you're going to close the block this time. Well, they threw it right back to him, and the dude didn't close the block, and I got smoked again. I mean, you have to be kind of ready to move, because what if they just tip it or something? And so I couldn't physically. I'm so close to him, I physically couldn't my hands up. And this guy did hit hard, and I was like, close the block. I'm getting my butt kicked out here.
Oh man,
do something.
So your main way of moving around is your hands.
Yeah.
So you obviously have to have a disability, like you said, to even be in the Paralympics, let alone the sport. But not everybody on your team. I think it might be assumed that, well, you have to be missing an appendage of some sort. But you got guys on the team who have both their legs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
and their disability doesn't have to be limited to their lower extremities.
Right. And so the way that works in most sports, like Murder Ball was a movie about the U.S. Paralympic rugby team, and go watch that. MTV Films awesome.
What is it called again?
Murder Ball. It's badass.
Murder Ball.
Yeah. So anyway, just like them and a bunch of team sports, like, okay, so if you're going to have a disabled team, well, you don't want to stack it with people who are just barely disabled, right? Like, so if it used to be people like with ACL reconstructions would count as a minimal, right? And we call them minimals. And so the idea there is, all right, we can't stack the team. So you can only have one minimal on the court at any time, and you can have two on the roster.
Oh, okay.
And then, so most of us, like,
who determines what's a minimal?
There's a committee, and when we get a competition, so people will try to stack it. There's teams out there that play dirty. I'm not going to be ugly.
I never knew
and
that.
Say those, but yeah, they'll like there's one team that had like 3 or 4 ex-professionals that had ACL reconstruction. Well, yeah, clearly they kicked 1 or 2 out.
Oh my God!
But they tried to get them in,
so this picture here.
This is our Olympic picture. This is right before we went to the Olympics or the Paralympics.
This is what is this picture that we're looking at?
This picture,
besides a bunch of badasses.
There was two. This picture and that other picture I want to talk about, because these are very. I don't know how you decided on these, but these are perfect. This is our Olympic picture. This is our Olympic team picture right before we went to Rio.
So that was 16.
16. Yep.
Right. And is that JD over there on the
knucklehead right there?
Left? Yeah. Played golf with him. He's super cool.
Yeah.
And so these guys are your family.
Yep.
Like what's the training like? I mean, is this Olympic training? Like this is what you do. You are a Paralympic athlete, and this is what you do for a living. So
absolutely. Especially at first, because you can't get good until you hit like a certain number of hours. You know, we always talk about the 10,000 hour mark. And most people who come into it, you move to Oklahoma and you train full time every day. You train every day for a couple hours, couple hours practice, couple hours lifting and that kind of thing. And usually you're there for years until you get good enough to be able to compete. I had been training a little bit from Mississippi, and I would go up every month there. We have national team training camp. And so that's where we show up on a Friday, or really on a Thursday, and 2-a-day practices Friday, 2-a-day practices on Saturday, and then one big long one on Sunday. And we all practice together. So there's a bunch of people who live there. They're called resident athletes, and then the rest of us fly in once a month.
That's insane. Why is that guy got a white shirt on? Is he the captain?
No, he's our libero. He's a defensive specialist in the back, so they wear a different colored jersey.
For every team.
Yeah.
Oh.
You don't have to have one.
What was the word you said?
It's libero.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that unique to sitting?
Nope. That's it's relatively new to volleyball over the last maybe I guess 20 years now, but so it's not really too new. But when I first started, it had just kind of come into like maybe mid 2000s. It really started becoming popular. But basically, you rotate around, and so what you're trying to do is trying to put up good matchups. Like if you're a good hitter and the person in front of you is not a good blocker, perfect. That's a good matchup. So once that hitter goes out to the back row, the libero can just trade out and work the back. So he's a defensive specialist. So he doesn't ever go to the front. And that's kind of one of those major differences.
Lennon, I think we have pull up the video. Oh yeah, this is it. Go ahead and play that.
See it play from both sides in this final round.
I'm actually playing middle there. Yeah, this is in Rio.
Oh, okay.
So JD should have set me there.
Jesus, that goes fast.
And it's narrow, right?
It is. And how big's the crowd here?
There's 2,000-3,000.
They're cheering.
Yeah.
It just seems so fast. Like, oh God. That's a hell of a volley. Oh.
Both teams showing great
Oh!
agility and
That was
awareness
great.
during
And
an epic sequence of play, which ended in triumph.
The guy
no.
who just got that ball, Ben Ammon, you and I were chatting about traumatic brain injuries. He actually was in a motorcycle wreck.
You can keep playing it, buddy. Yeah.
And
Before this or after this?
after this.
Oh, okay.
So he was in a motorcycle wreck and got a brain injury, came back, and he's on a roster. He's still now he's got some personality here and there, but
Yeah.
he's a hell of a kid, big fighter, and he trains full time.
And is China good?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Oh, really good
Oh.
recovery by Kremer. Keep that ball in play for the USA.
Good job, Dan.
And still, the rally goes on. Another
Kramer.
good dig from the libero.
That is so
And
Good
again,
job,
passing
Kramer.
the ball
Kramer was on
off of the
fire
floor.
this tournament.
Kramer
Kramer's
really
the
enjoying
libero we
this
were talking
rally.
about.
Okay.
Still China, though, looking to take the point. Oh, brilliant.
That is so bad. Oh my God, that was a very
And
that
we
was a
thought we
long
got him,
point.
and I'm pretty sure we
Referee
did. I think he
says
got his
no.
hand there, but
And it's China who take the
Yeah, there's a lot of
point.
people there. And so this was 16.
correct.
And how far did you guys get?
We took eighth. We had a
I mean,
really,
eighth in the world.
yeah.
I mean, and you don't just get to the Olympics. You got to qualify, and
you do have to qualify, and that's what that one picture that we had up a minute ago where I was serving.
right.
That picture is so important because we were at
This one here.
That's in Canada, and we had to. This is based for qualification. This is the Pan Am Games happened the year before the Olympics, and a lot of times the Pan Am Games are like trial runs for the Olympics. Like they're trying to get the Olympics in that city in a decade, and so in the Pan Am Games, that's your last chance to qualify. For us to qualify to go to an Olympics, we have World Championships, and that's 2 years before the Olympics, and usually top first or second qualifies. And if you don't do that, then you go to like a big regional tournament. And for us, the Pan Am Games is what it has been. I think it's just recently changed, but you have to qualify there and by getting gold. So Rio had already. This was the year that it was being hosted in Rio. So this is 2015.
Mhm.
So the Brazilian team already qualified just because they're host country. So whoever wins this match goes to the Olympics. And it was
Oh,
this.
cool.
I'm pretty sure it was this match.
So if you're the host, you get a bye.
Yep.
You just get in.
That's why, I haven't trained in a year and a half with the team, moving to Mississippi and just trying to set up my family. My daughter was born. I do have an intention to begin. I've already started training actually, and at home. And for January, I'll start going back to camps because
that's awesome.
in 28, it's in LA.
Right.
So host country. So everybody's including me, coming out of the woodwork to try to make that team. What a great way to end my career.
Oh my God.
And it's going to be a lot of work, and I've got to beat people out, and
Yeah.
that's the tough part, but that's the fun part,
So you were here in 2010. Where was 2012?
London.
And did you guys go to that or
We
not
didn't.
qualify?
We didn't qualify. We had a really, really good tournament in Guadalajara, which the Pan Am Games that year was in 2011, was in Guadalajara. And we took Brazil to 5 sets. It was really, really close.
Yeah.
And they inched it out.
Oh man.
And that was a heartbreaker. And then so the next thing, the last chance, there's usually one tournament, and I think it was in Cairo that next year. The year of the Olympics, there's one tournament where anybody who hadn't qualified can show up and battle it out for that last spot. And we didn't win there either.
Oh my God. But the traveling, just the stories that you got to have from just meeting people and meeting the other teams. I mean, you get to chat with these other teams when you're around the world.
Mm-hmm.
God, man, that's got to be awesome.
It definitely made me more worldly.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's badass. Tell me about this picture.
So Marge and I, my wife, lived in
and the reason I'm bringing up this picture is because I know that this is a little dive bar.
Yeah.
And this is about 1,700 feet from where we're sitting right now in downtown Oklahoma City. It's a very, very small bar. And I think this bar is one of the very unique places in the Midwest part of the United States that has a heavy emphasis on world football and European football.
Yeah.
Soccer,
Big
Americans. But you have a jersey up there that I seen.
Yeah. It's right next to the pisser, which the guy who that's the best part of the story. But the one of the bartender was Aaron, who worked there back when Marge and I lived here, and we'd walk to this bar all the time, loved it, and like you said, it's tiny, it's about the size of this table. I mean, I think it's
really small.
I think there's like 43. It's like a weird like small number. That's the max,
and it's wedge shaped.
Yeah, it used to be a train station or way station or something.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
And so it's this tiny, tiny bar. Now, there was a bully here this one particular time, and didn't know he was a bully at the time. These guys come in. It's evening. We're chatting with the bartender Aaron, and I could tell that these guys are OSU fans or something, and I try to make a conversation. I was like, "Oh, hey, well, my wife went to OSU," but he said something to the effect of, "Yeah, we're going to be in the suites." Well, I didn't know if that was a bar. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know those were the boxes.
He's so full of shit.
I didn't, man. So I said to him,
So you were antagonizing this guy, but that's okay.
Dude, that's your role.
Yeah.
I was just an idiot, really. I was like, I don't know what. So then the guy gets all mad. He's like, "Oh, you don't think that I can afford the suites because I wear a t-shirt, or something like that."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh gosh, okay, all right, never mind." And then, but because the place is so small, he kept going, like hanging out with his buddies and stuff, and he kept telling this story, and I fed up, and I'm like, "All right, I'm out. I'm going to say something. I'm going to be ugly or whatever." So I go to the bathroom. When I come back,
kept telling the story about the suites.
Yeah, about me.
Oh, about
with an earshot that I don't think he could afford.
This guy over here,
this friggin' guy.
Oh,
yeah,
okay, I got you.
So I go to the bathroom, and I come back, and one of his buddies, little cronies, is sitting on my chair, and my wife is just looking like, I'm done, I'm out. And then so I was like, "Hey man, can I get my seat back? We're gonna pay and we'll get out of here." And he goes, "Man, that's funny. I don't see your name on it." I'm like,
"Oh God."
And then I hear him tell the story again, and I lose it. And I walk over and I tell my wife, "I'm sorry." I walked over to the guy and I was like, "Man, you and me got a problem." I mean, he goes, "What's the problem?" I was like, "I don't know, man. You keep telling this story, and it's apparently important to you. So why don't we walk outside and we'll take care of this?" And so, "What are we gonna do outside?" And I said, "Well, I mean, we can get a foot race, or we can." And his buddies lost it. I said, "We could fight. We can foot." And I was like, "Oh wait, are you fast?" And he goes, "I'm pretty fast." And I was like, "Okay, all right. Well, I tell you what, you wait right here." And I was pointing at his chest. "I'm gonna go get my racing legs. And I'm gonna be right back." And I just walked out the door. Now this is where Marge normally.
You must have been like.
Oh yeah. They were like, what? And Marge is like, he actually has racing legs. He's pretty fast on them.
And you lived just a block away.
I jogged up the hill. I got my racing. Oh no, we had parked. We had dinner at the Mantle. So it was like around the block. I just went around, had my running legs were in there, and I come back with these things hooked on my shoulders.
So I keep an umbrella in my car.
Uh-huh.
You had racing legs in your car.
Hunter, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
Lennon's laughing.
So good, because I don't think I make him smile very often, so that's a win. I'll take it.
Oh my God.
So we were literally raced, and there's a video of this.
So you did go back and you got our racing legs like the South African murderer guy?
Yep. Pistorius.
Yeah. So there's some type of carbon fiber band.
Yep. And it's just curved. It's just made for you to be angled forward running.
So you went and got those.
Yep.
And came back to Skinny Slim's bar.
Yep.
And oh my God.
And then we raced. And now at the top of this hill, the guy said, and it was, the guy says like, "Man, I'm really sorry." I'm like, "Hey man, look, it's fine. Look, here's what's going to happen. Are you a sprinter or are you a long distance guy?" He goes, "I'm a sprinter." I was like, "You're probably going to win. I'm going to try to beat the hell out of you. But let's get this done. I'll go in and buy you guys beers and we'll squash it." And he's like, "All right, man." So on that day, I have yet to get a text message from him just saying, "Hey, hope you're doing well." And when I come in town, I usually call him.
Who won the race?
He did.
Oh God.
Dude, but it was close.
So he was fast.
He took off, but then I started gaining, and he had a.
So if the race was longer, You'd have caught him.
I would need probably 100, 150 feet, a little bit more.
Oh my
Because
God.
I was making good, but he's fast, dude. He was.
And so how'd the jersey get there?
So Aaron, it was so impressed with this. Like, he's like, dude, what? Well, I got to, and I was like, and somehow it came in like, oh, you're a volleyball player. Well, let's just get a jersey. And that's where. So then the joke was when I got him the jersey, and of course I, spiked the hell out of life. That was just all volleyball. It has nothing to do with the race. But
Yeah.
he put it next to the pisser. Now, truth be
that
told,
is
there's not a lot of room
that is
in that
insane.
bar. Yeah.
That is the greatest way to squash some drunk dude talking shit in the world. I'm going to go get my racing leg. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to get my racing legs. I'm going to come back and teach you a lesson.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
So where does your anatomy end and the cool carbon fiber titanium stuff begin?
Oh, it's right there at the end. That really just wraps around my leg.
So you
that's
have
like a
a
shoe.
tibia?
I do have a tibia. I have no fibula. That's why, like, when you see me walk and I don't have my cosmetic parts on the prosthetic that give me a calf.
Yeah.
It's real skinny because I don't have a fibula. I was born with bilateral fibular hemilia, which I didn't
What's
have fibula.
hemilia?
Lack of. Like, I didn't have a bone.
Oh.
I didn't have the fibula. I had the tibia, and then the distal part of the tibia didn't connect with the bones that were poorly formed in the ankle.
So you had feet.
I was born. I actually. You want to talk about a long game? My dad's the one that taught me how to get out of situations with humor. But also stand up for yourself. So the last story was all him. But he had this great long game. This dude, I can remember until I was about in second grade. Every once in a while, he would just sneak in sloth. They call me sloth. Like, the heck is this?
Your dad?
Yeah, just sneaking in. He's he's sarcastic guy, funny. I love my days. He was my hero. I got home from second grade science class, and Dad said, "How's today, kid?" I was like, "You son of a bitch!" And I mean, he reaches for his belt.
Oh,
he was
no.
like, "What'd you say to me?" And I was like, "Two-toed sloth," because I was born with 2 toes on each foot.
Oh,
He's
no.
like,
You just got it after.
Yeah, 7 years.
So oh my God. So you're born without fibulas.
Yeah.
And then when do they do an operation?
9 months.
9 months.
9 or 10
And because
months.
they just knew that you'd never be able to put weight on it, or
I would imagine.
what
it's
was
got to
the
be
risk?
developed to some degree, I think. But
Yeah.
they didn't want it to develop too much. And I think I'm not a surgeon, and so I don't know for sure, but that would make sense. But 9 months is when they did it. And right after that, I had prosthetics by the time I was 12, 13 months. My mom said I was stumbling around at 12 months. But they used to, little prosthetics, they didn't want to, like, they didn't know how to affix it to me, how to keep them on. So they had these, like a garter belt type thing that tacked onto my diapers.
yeah.
And there's so invariably they'd look down and see a diaper, 2 garters, and 2 prosthetics, and no kid. I would
Oh my
sneak
God.
out of them and crawl around, and yeah.
Oh my God. So then that's just what you've been used to forever then.
Mhm. Yep.
But some of the other guys on the team have traumatic injuries or something else that disabled them as an adult or something like that.
Yeah, like Kramer, the libero, he was an EOD in the Navy, and that dude, he was blown up. I mean, he stepped on a mine.
No kidding.
Yep, I don't want to tell too many of his stories or put words in his mouth, but he was ordered to go clear an area and then stepped on a mine, and so he remembers a bunch of that. And so, I mean, he was probably walking around in Afghanistan when you and I first met.
No
And
kidding.
then within a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3, I want to say it was around 2011 or 12 for him. I'm not sure, but sometime around there, because it was in a couple of years and he was on the team.
No kidding.
So
what a badass.
he is, dude. He is. I hope he doesn't see this, because the people jokingly call me Doc, medical and whatever, but he is probably one of the smartest people on our team. He's just but he keeps it real low key. And so anytime he speaks up, I invariably will say something like, Yeah, Kramer. But you were trained millions of dollars, and you had one job, and you messed that up. So,
Oh God, that's terrible.
and the whole
Your one job
disabled-
was to not step on, and yeah.
yeah, the whole disabled
I'll let
community-
you guys tell those jokes.
Yeah, well, that's because I'm in the club, I guess, in that particular case. But he's a hell of a dude, and yeah, one of my favorites.
So growing up with this disability, did you feel like you had a disability?
I remember the day that I was made aware of it. First grade, we got pushed on the playground, and I remember crying. I remember not knowing why I was crying, and I remember people laughing, and then I cried more and realized when I went home and talked to my mom and dad that, like, all right, well, this is how people are going to be sometimes. And so that's really when I realized that it was different. And so over time, like, you deal with it in certain phases of your life. The next time that it really started bothering me is when, I was getting through puberty and I wanted to look good and I wanted to, dress nice. And I always had like this flexion in my knee. So my knee pokes out, my butt pokes out the other direction. And I have like just this. And so I went in college. So I never really wore like nice clothes. I mean, I never really cared because I was like, well, I'm not going to look at them. And I hate the way that my reflection looks if I were to see, when I walk my, a mirror or a glass, window. I went to my prosthetist when I first got to college, and he said, "Oh, you walk terrible." First time I see him, I was like, "Well, you're short and fat." So
yeah,
we got that
Jesus
going for us.
Christ, that's a nice welcome.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. But he said, "No, I mean, I can fix it." And I'm like, "Sure, I've heard this before." And what he did was he did something that was different. Like before, they would just, wherever my knees were, they would put the foot just 90 degrees from the end of the leg. What he did was he just took a pylon that came straight from my leg down and then put the foot. So the problem was I couldn't stand in one spot. Like at lunch, my elbow would touch one of my buddies, and I'm leaning on him, and it was all low key. And they did that. They let me do that, so I didn't look like I was just doing this, standing there. And,
because it was hard to balance, or
my
it was
heels
just
were up on the ground.
Oh, okay.
And so this guy says, all right, well, he said, bring long pants to when we put them on. And so I brought long pants. He put long pants on, put the legs on, and then he had me stand up, and he's got me, and that's what I needed. And he just moved his hands, and immediately I was like, I'm balancing. I am standing in one spot. I'm not stepping back and forth. And I looked down, and it was the straightest my legs had ever. I was bawling. And,
wow.
And the confidence.
And how old were you?
I was 18. The confidence that gave me, mercy. I mean, after that, it seemed like I never like carried around like, oh, poor me. I mean, I always did what I wanted to do. I played baseball through high school and college, and did whatever I really wanted to do. But that gave me some confidence.
That's good, man. That's good.
Yeah.
You remember this picture?
Oh yeah, this was a good one.
This was, the charity for people that are watching, the charity that I talk about sometimes that we started years ago called EMS Success. This was one of our first fundraisers. This was a Soul Survivor number 2 golf tournament that was in remembrance of a couple Eagle Med crashes that happened here in the Oklahoma City area, and raising money for them. And then that's GAD from your team, right?
Yep, that's the big.
But
guy.
I mean, you certainly look like you're standing pretty straight there.
I mean, they got me pretty taken care of.
And I put on this tournament, and I thought it was pretty cool. And I said, we need to have a prize to like attract people, like a car.
Right.
I couldn't afford a car.
How much was a car?
I don't know. I mean, any car. I suppose you could just put any car out there.
You probably could have got a dealership because those are, anyway, but go ahead. I know where you're going.
Yeah, but so I did a hole-in-one. Lennon, you probably don't remember this, do you? You were there. I got a good picture.
You ready to get impressed, Lennon?
This was up at Lake Hefner, which is a pretty nice golf course here. You don't remember this? And so this was a big tournament, and we had a hole-in-one. We had a couple hole-in-ones, or a couple of the holes.
There were 2.
Were
have you heard my version of this story?
Were the tournaments, and and you're going to tell me that version.
Keep going.
I think the only person that's told me is Brent, the guy standing over there on the left, who's a good buddy and mentor of ours. But no, man, you tell me your story, because I didn't have that insured the right way.
Oh, really?
At least I didn't think that I don't think that I did.
All right. Well, but
a lot of people don't know. So a lot of people don't know when you put a hole in one up, win $500. I think one hole was $500. Another one might have been like $1,000 because it was a more difficult
$10,000
or
$10,000 hole and a $500
because it was like a 300-yard par 3 or something like that. Well, you got to buy insurance through these companies.
That makes sense.
But then you got to follow the rules. You got to, if it's something that's like 500, somebody else has to attest to it. And if it's over like 1,000, well, you got to have 2 people attest to it. And if it's over like 10,000, you got to have it on video or something like that. I don't know. And I can't remember what it was, but somewhere I screwed this up. And here comes Charlie. Fire away. Tell me tell me your version.
You're welcome. So first off, I'm wearing the Metaflight hat. I was working at Metaflight.
Holy Christ, you're wearing the same shirt that you're wearing right now.
We said about this earlier, man. I didn't know that you're always going to have this photo up. That I know I played in it that day. That's awesome.
It looks a lot brighter than the photo.
It's been a while. Matter of fact, if I turn around, you'll
wash
see,
that shit in cold water.
Dude, there's an iron stain on the back of this. I figured hopefully cut that crap out, Lennon.
Oh my God. Anyway, go ahead.
So I get off work. You're working the desk at the moment, or maybe you're already out there. I forget. Did you play with us in that?
I only got to play a little bit because this was the most stressful day of my life running this stuff.
Yeah, you busted your ass for this. I remember. So my wife was helping you. She was at the desk. I run in. She hands me the bag. I'm in my flight suit. People are waiting already. I change pretty quick, and people have already hit. Now we're waiting on everybody's already hit. Everybody, right. Not just these guys. Everybody in the tournament is waiting on me to rush out. And so I run out to, I get in the cart and I pull up, and they're like, come on, man, we got to go. And I'm like, all right, I go up there, and I remember that first swing, and I was like, wasted it. That was a great shot. Damn it, I wasted it. And then so I was like, all right. And I walked up, boop, 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 hold. And then Brent yells, dude, this is a $10,000 hole. I lost it, and I started running like I've never gotten a hole in one. That was my first. Like I've never won before. They try to act like you're a winner already. No, I run like an idiot all the way to the hole, and I'm like, it's in there. Yeah, all right. And then Brent walks up and goes, just kidding. It's a $500 hole.
Oh man.
Now, here's the thing. I just got a hole in one and $500, and I felt like somebody stole $9,500 from me, Justin.
Oh my God. I didn't know that. He never told me that.
Yeah. And it's either him or JD, and I don't
But you got your $500, didn't you?
I did.
I don't remember how that worked out, but I know that
what you said is right.
They gave me a break because when I filled out the paperwork, like I screwed something up.
Oh, really?
And luckily it was a $500 one.
Right.
And because I think it cost $200 for the insurance. So really they only had to, pay out $300 or something like that. But yeah, that's crazy, man. You hit a hole in one on that day.
Yeah, a hole in one.
In front of everybody.
Yep.
What was that other pick that was up there, buddy? Pull that back up. What was that last one? Who's that?
Oh, mercy. Yep. That's my girl.
That's a good picture.
Yeah.
That's downtown Oklahoma City in the background.
Yeah, that's I think it's at the beer garden, if I'm not mistaken. I think we had just gotten back from a big trip.
Oh yeah, they're closed now. Somebody bought them,
okay.
And it's something else now.
Yeah, that's my wife Marge.
Yeah, and so she's super smart, isn't she? Like a doctor of diet,
masters.
Yeah,
yeah. She's a clinical dietitian. She's done the last, I guess 6 or 7 years. She's done solid organ transplant as a clinical dietitian. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you need a liver or a kidney where she's worked, she's got to help approve it. I mean, like the team.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So you get that's a house of intelligence right there.
And people all the time will be like, "Oh, well, don't watch me eat." She goes, "Well, I'm not on the clock. I'm eating with you." She likes good food.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And so you guys just had a baby.
We did
not too long ago.
Gosh,
what's that
amazing.
like?
It's different. It's different, and at first, I told somebody this recently, and I was like, the last day they're like, all right, here you go. And I was like, what do we just take it home? How do we water it? I don't. What do we do?
God!
And we got home, and you just get into the routine, and it's pretty amazing. Then when her name's Isla Grace, and when she started to develop a personality, oh man, it's been like I just fall in love with her every day.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
My son's 15. But how old are you? He's 14.
14 and a half.
I feel the same way about him, even though he's always embarrassed to be around me. That's why he's off the camera right now.
That's all right.
But I feel the same. I feel the same way about him. So you come here, you got your dream job as a flight paramedic in Mississippi, and you say, I'm going to give all this up, come to Oklahoma City, pursue this gold medal, and the proverbial gold medal as well. Well, you weren't pursuing that, but you found that. But you're not here anymore.
Yeah.
So what happened?
I was working at Life Flight in Oklahoma City, which was one of the Air Methods programs of Air Methods as a vendor. And while we were in orientation in Denver, I spoke with the educator there, and I was like, I have this product, I have this company that I started, and I would like to potentially pitch some things or whatever. And so I flew out there again on my own dime to Denver from Oklahoma and pitched my course, and they bought it for basically a year and a half. And that kind of set me go in the direction where, as an educator. And what happened there, actually, that was more like a trial run for me. And within a year, I was hired as the clinical education manager, which was one of 3 national positions.
So Air Methods, as they like to say, the largest air medical provider in the world, plucks you out of Oklahoma City after working at Metaflight for, 6 months?
It was close. It was maybe 9. Yep.
Yeah. And brings you into Denver to basically be the educator for thousands of nurses and paramedics across the United States.
Yeah. My main role was quarterbacking new hire orientation. And then I taught vent. We had one guy that does perfusion, one guy that does airway, and I was the vent guy.
Right. And so, yeah, I went through that just before you must have started is when I started there at Air Methods. That's super cool, man. And so how long were you in Denver? I know that's where Lennon we were talking about it earlier. We were fans of going there and going to Winter Park.
Love Winter Park. That's my favorite. Dude, I would be sitting at home working on
45 minutes
stuff for this. Yeah. And we're there at 50 minutes. Marge would get up, and this was when all I did was teach for several years in Denver. We were there, to answer your question, we were there about 6 years. And so until 18, I worked at Air Methods until I was 2018. And then I asked Marge if I could go off on my own and do my own thing. And that's another long conversation. But eventually I got her to say yes. And I taught on my own, but I would get up 45 minutes later. I'm at Winter Park, first chair. I'd be back at my desk at 1, knocking out work.
That's nuts, dude.
It was fun.
Awesome. We went snowboarding with you that one time, and boy, that was a fun weekend.
That's good.
And it's just crazy to think that every time, other times you go to a resort or something like that, or you have to stay in a hotel, but we just came back to your house every day.
Yeah.
That was
awesome. I mean,
that was badass.
We were just in Lake Tahoe for a wedding, friend's wedding, and all we could keep talking about was like, what would it look like if we moved back? And we might. I mean, who knows?
To Denver?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were just there last week or 2 weeks ago for the Crash and Learn conference.
Crash and Learn,
you got to go to that next year.
And
we don't know where it's going to be yet.
Well, yeah, I told Tyler Cristofali, I was like, all right, I texted him, I was like, all right, this sells out. He goes, oh yeah. I was like, well, can I get a retainer? I want to go next year. Yeah. And if you'll consider how do I submit for lecture, and there it's everybody talks about it. So they're doing a heck of a job, all those guys.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you could check out the vlog. It kind of tells. It does tell the full experience because we get into. I know you watched a little bit of earlier, but it really gets into the speakers and just the. I mean, I don't want to say it was like a kumbaya thing, but it was certainly. You're so used to going to conferences, which we've been to hundreds of conferences, really all around the world, and some of them are better than others, and some are pretty cool, but it's all really the same thing. I mean, you don't ever really walk away too much like you've gained something. It's more of like getting information out there. Like if you're a presenter, especially if it's a research-based conference where you're, look, I've published this new stuff, and here I'm going to present it to the world. So that knowledge is out there and added to the literature. But then those conferences become more about, partying or, equipment or something like that.
Right.
The vendors or stuff like that. This conference wasn't like that, man. It was just, I would say that 95% of the people that I hung out with there, this is where I met them for the first time. Right. And we're all kind of on the same page. Like we're in the woods. There's no Wi-Fi. And this person's lecturing. I mean, this is husband and wife from Spain. They were like ER fellows or something. Came and did this Reboa demonstration and just blew everybody's minds away. And everybody who's in the crowd is like, they have a pen and a, you know what that is, right? Lennon, you know what that is? A pen and a piece of paper.
It's archaic.
And they're writing in these, they're feverishly writing down these notes, and just walking away, with this knowledge. And it was just, I don't know, it was just epic, dude. So I can't wait. I can't wait for the next one. But anyway, I don't know where it's going to be in the future, but once they publish it, I encourage everybody to get after it. But anyway, so you guys are up there in Denver. Did you fly part-time up there while you were there?
I tried to get on a couple places. They really don't typically hire part-timers there, and I can't hold that against them. I get it, but I didn't want to go to work full-time. And I was traveling. I was traveling 2 or 3 times a month for all the way through COVID.
For Air Methods or for yourself?
For myself. So 2018, I left and I just did my business. And so
what do we got here, Lennon? You got this pulled up. What this is medupros.com. Are you ready for your next critical patient? What do we do here at MeduPros?
So I had a company before, and now this is the newer rebranded version. But the MeduPros, we help prepare people for critical care education. So if you are a paramedic out of school that you want to start gearing up towards a critical care role, then you can take some initial training, which basically gives you a whole lot of content on how to do the job and how to do it right. And if you're already a critical care paramedic or nurse, then we have a bunch of products that help people keep their edge, keep up their certifications, keep up their hours so that they can recertify. Yeah.
So you're prepping people to pass this FPC, this critical care, CFRN, CEN. You're prepping people to pass those exams.
Yeah, and I hate saying prepping. I'd rather think of them as preparing them to go take care of sick patients. Right. Oh, and by the way, to be validated as a I don't even know if validation is the best word for that, but to validate their knowledge of this skill set. So it's not demonstration, but it's knowledge of the skill set. Then they pass the test. And
that's a good way.
Some of my products, because what I've tried to do in the last 4 years, because I've built a bunch of new products and they haven't really released them. I don't like advertising, and I really just I'm usually word of mouth, and what people just find, my site, but, about to pair together with another, very smart guy that, he likes to do all of the videos and TikToks and all that. And I'm partnering with him to provide all of essentially the infrastructure of courses and this new way to do it. I have this great new way to actually make people use the information as opposed to just get a lecture and then take a test on it.
Keeping them engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but with that comes a balance, because there's some people who don't want to click. There's some people who just they just want to read and test, and some people don't want to do that. And so we've made just a bunch of different products that spread a big span of test taking, test prep, content, resharpening options.
That's so badass. Lennon, scroll down to the bottom. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at all those books.
I'm a nerd, dude.
Good Lord.
This is our newest one we just created. I got to update that.
Maybe we should have my ECG students in my ECG class. So on the Dr. Medic page, we just published a ECG course, a basic type of ECG course.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this? If you have how many people are in the course right now?
Oh, I don't know. There's probably a couple dozen.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll send each one of them a book if they'll go through and, number one, make sure that I don't spell so GUD. And even though there's one of this Swearingen's resource and study guide, that one I've paid so much money to have people go through and edit it, and that's still one of the things that is a problem. Is that
it's crazy.
I hate it, and because I'm not good with grammar, I'm not good with spelling. I want to get the content
I got
out there.
somebody I can send you.
Okay.
For every publication that I've ever done for journals.
Yeah.
Once my work is done, dude, I had to pay a professional editor.
Yep. Well, I chose the wrong one, so I'll take it.
She's local.
Awesome.
And she's so thorough it'll upset you.
Okay.
Because you'll look at something and you'll be mad because you missed it.
Got it.
But she'll catch it. I'll send you that.
Yeah.
And so these books, you can get them on your website. They're on Amazon as well?
They are. They're cheaper here typically. And but I'm serious about the ECG. If you're, I'll just send 25 copies and.
We can work something out. It's a basic ECG. It's just for ECG interpretation. It's the particular class that I do is. It's a cheap class, $75, and it's 500 rhythms. I mean, there's 4 or 5 lectures, but then there's 500 rhythms, but as a test questions, but a review video for all 500. There's 500 videos that go with it.
Okay.
It's kind of daunting.
And is it just is it lead 2 or is it 12 lead also?
It's just rhythm interpretation.
Gotcha.
There's a separate one coming for 12 lead, but this one's it's really designed more for maybe the entry level paramedic or paramedic student, but big time for like EKG techs, monitoring techs, nurses who are working somewhere who just want to know what the rhythm is that they're looking up on the screen. Really more for that.
Good.
But anyway, this is very badass, cool. Dude. And so I like the hero addition into each of the titles. So that's super cool.
The plan is to have 12 in the Critical Care Hero series. And so right now what I've started to do, this one actually, I have a second author that I need to fix this picture, so that's on me.
The ECG one?
Yeah, I'm partnered with his name on TikTok. It's Shade Tree Cardiology. That's the guy that I'm going to be partnering with, and he's got 250,000 followers. Very. I have no idea how he. I mean, what comes out of his mouth. He's amazing medic and very, very smart. And we're actually studying to take the MCAT and try to go to med school.
Both of you?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. The docs at the U have convinced me to do it, and I'm like, well, I'm about to be 46. It's like, well, we had a 50.
Oh, that doesn't matter,
50, yeah.
Dude. I just had the last graduating class. I just had a 66-year-old guy finish paramedic school. He was a lifetime. He's been an EMT forever, and he was a respiratory therapist forever. But he's a pastor out in rural Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
And he
this was, what's his name?
Oh, I can't say his name.
Oh, okay.
But
I know who you're talking about.
FERPA. But
that's right.
Yeah, he finished paramedic school and passed his test on the
awesome.
first try and everything.
He was one of my students.
That's right. That's
Or
right.
can I say that?
Well, yeah, you just can't say his name.
Okay.
FERPA. Anyway, so speaking of TikTok, this is your TikTok. This is a badass video. Lennon, you probably haven't seen this video, have you? Well, don't play it yet. So when people check out the aircraft, if you're not a paramedic or nurse and you're listening or watching, you have to check out your ambulance at the beginning of the day, right?
Yep.
You got to check out your aircraft, and you got to go through everything and make sure everything that was there yesterday is still there now, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of a daunting thing. Got to do it every single day, or at the beginning of every shift.
You don't want to need a tool or something or medicine, and then whoops, I didn't check it this morning.
Right. And so you've got a caption here that says, from a coworker, how you know when Swearingen is, do you pronounce the G? Is it Swearingen or Swearingen?
It's Swearingen.
I knew that. How you know when Swearingen is checking out the equipment in the aircraft? Fire away, buddy. Oh. What in the world? You're such a nerd. You're gonna
Goober might be more like it.
now we're gonna get a copyright infringement from Eminem for this video. I'm gonna have to chop that up. That's okay.
Sorry, my bad, bro.
That's okay. It's gonna take the income from this video from 42 cents to 0. So that's it.
Here, I got a $20 bill. I'll just.
but that's okay. So that's pretty good. So what aircraft is that?
That's a. Can we go back? I think that's
the
one.
Play
I think
it
that's the 145.
I'm gonna turn it down so I don't get.
That's a 135.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can see the Zoll monitor facing towards the front. So yeah, matter of fact,
in the back, that's the 145.
That's the 145 back over there
in the background.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is so badass.
Yeah. Look, they built this whole complex, and they moved right after COVID. So I got hired end of 21 back to Air Care at University of Mississippi Medical Center. And they had just built like less than a year they've been in this building. But it is a huge building. It's got this massive hangar that you can see. There's 2 aircraft in there. It could fit 3. Mm-hmm. Incredible new kind of home. And it houses like if the president or anybody comes in town that's important, like we're attached to their convoy and that kind of thing. So pretty badass.
Yeah, pull up both of those videos. How come your picture's not on their website?
I don't know.
Did you know that?
I knew it wasn't up like maybe 6 months ago. But.
Oh, pull that website up, buddy.
Which one?
The one that's a website that you had up for Air Care.
And I also haven't been
Yeah, this one.
We haven't taken a picture. I think we're due here coming up soon, but this was taken after I left.
So the first time.
Yeah, this is probably a 6-year-old picture, 6 or 7.
Yeah. So you were in Denver and you were doing your own thing with MediPros, which you're still doing. Mm-hmm. But now you're back in Mississippi.
Back in Mississippi. We wanted to come back and
back where you started.
Yep. Wanted to come back, and houses are way cheaper in Mississippi than Colorado. We were going to be closer to my family. And so, yeah, that's why we came back.
And so now in place of the 222, you've got this badass EC-145.
Yep. The flagship is at the Jackson base, and that's the 145. The 3 outlying bases, one in Columbus where MSU is, and we actually go to those games. We actually support like off duty. Well, we're technically on duty, but we're in our regular gear. And so there's one at Columbus, Mississippi, one in Greenwood, one in Meridian. That second one that I started in Meridian.
Yeah. And
those are all 135.
And aircraft. So tell us about this service, like how it's set up, what model it uses, like hospital-based, community-based, and what's the makeup of the crew and stuff.
So it's a little bit of both. I mean, there's one at the hospital. We've always been hospital-based technically, but then we started putting aircraft out basically because there was other services coming in, and you have to compete.
Yeah.
So we have 3 out bases, and but we fly. What we can do in Mississippi is crazy. And I've told people before, like we get paid as nurses. And that was a deal that the hospital and nursing and our medical directors worked out. We get paid as nurses. We get there's no difference in what either of us do. But you have to be a critical care paramedic. So the critical care paramedic is a 1-year college level course that you have to take and pass. And then you have to get the certification. And then from there, you are allowed to do all the critical care level skills that the nurses can do. So that was kind of the leverage that they used to stay on equal footing. And in the end, the things that we can do, like before, I thought I was pretty good at what I did. And I was confident, and I mean, there was a lot of times that we were in bad situations, and we kept the people alive. Now we carry blood. We, like in my aircraft, we have 2 liquid plasmas, 4 pack reds. I put in chest tubes probably once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, depending. We start A lines and we run those. And so, and I remember some of I was like, gosh, why are we doing all this? I mean, every one of those skills I just mentioned and the ones that I haven't mentioned, there's absolute reasons why we do it. We're monitored by all of our physicians at this level 1 hospital. And in the end right now, if I have somebody that's on a pressor that's sick and we don't have an A-line, I do not trust oscillatory blood pressures.
No way.
I do not. I mean, there'll be times where if we don't have that, I'll pull out and actually use this stethoscope and sphygmomanometer.
Sphygmomanometer. Say that.
Right?
Say that word, Lennon. Sphygmomanometer.
In the mic.
Nope.
Okay.
Well, close enough.
Anyway, it's the program's awesome. We get to do high level, and we're responsible. Like if we show up and we haven't done something, I mean, we get in trouble from our guys, if not the docs there. Like we're supposed to show up and have almost everything done that we can. And
so you got single pilot, and these
IFR.
are all IFR. Not only are they IFR aircraft, but this program is an IFR program.
Correct.
They can take IFR flights.
Correct.
Do they have any approaches to hospitals that are IFR, or are we just IFRing into? That's not a terrible word, IFRing, or are we just doing IFR approaches to local small airports and stuff, and then jumping on an ambulance?
I can't think of one that we have an IFR approach to a hospital, but yeah. So all that comes into play. All that comes into play if weather's bad and we got to go to somewhere and say, okay, we can't break out and go over to the hospital. So either are they stable enough where you can bring them to us, or if not, then we need an empty ambulance and we'll land to the airport, go get them, and come back.
That's super cool.
Yeah,
that's super cool. And this is a CAMES accredited program.
Yes, sir.
And they've been accredited for some time.
Yeah, it wasn't accredited in 2010 when I left. I think they got it sometime in between, and it's probably like in the last 5 or 8 or so years, probably.
So these guys have been around for a long time. Early 80s, I saw they're one of the first programs in that area, and that they've flown 16,000 patients in like 40 years. Mm-hmm. And not only have they not had a fatal accident, they haven't had even a reportable incident. Like
you're only as good as your last flight, though, right? So.
Right, but there's got to be a reason for that, right? Because there's what do you attribute that to? That safety record.
We have everybody here wants to go take care of sick patients, and they want to do all the right stuff. Somewhere in the mix, there was a lot of conversation of, if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, we don't go. And let's talk about this out loud. The hot dogging that can happen doesn't, I don't think, or at least in my experience, I don't know. But it's always, we just talk things out really well. And
so you feel like crew resource management is accepted, and that's a part of everyday life there.
I don't even think if you were to bring up crew resource management to some of the, a lot of these guys are most of these guys are very well educated, but I don't even think we think of it as crew resource management. It's so embedded and ingrained. Now, again, I'm not trying to say we're a perfect program by any means. Sure. But I think that it's just like, we're all just real when it comes to that. And if you don't feel good about it, you don't go. And the thought process, our pilots are all, really, really good. And you can talk to them, you can approach them, you can say, "Hey, I don't feel good about this." We got called out for a flight, and there had been thunderstorms all day, and then there was a recent flight where everything started to kind of clear up a little bit. They reported that the ceiling had lifted, and we thought we could go from where we are to that hospital about 15 minutes away. We took off, and I had goggles on. It was at night, and I could see. Then all of a sudden it was like, I can't see now. Okay, all right, turn us around. And immediately our pilot like pulled up high, got around, got a clearance. We went to the airport.
So it was a double IMC.
Yep.
At
night.
And they called ATC.
Yep. They did the whole thing. He pulls pitch, he calls, and he gets a IFR clearance and files that flight plan to turn around. And we're parked at an airport, so we went back to the airport. I mean, shot at an IFR approach.
See, that's just I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but so many of the stories that we've told on this channel start just like that. But they don't end so well for a multitude of reasons. Maybe a lack of that communication that you're talking about, a poor culture, or simply not even having the IFR expertise or proficiency, I should say, to be able to just get out of it like that, especially with an aircraft where that autopilot can be so easily engaged and stuff like that. And there's so many pilots from some of these stories who try to avoid contacting ATC because then that's going to be an emergency that they declared, right? And they're going to have to do paperwork on it or something like that. It's kind of like the lazy paramedic who doesn't want to give morphine to the trauma patient because he doesn't want to fill out the paperwork afterwards. And so that might have been scary for you to go through that, but that sounds like exactly how it should be done.
It felt good. And I don't know how to say this. There's been times in my career where I was uncomfortable. And there was a particular pilot once that I was like, look, man, I just don't get, and I went through my chain of command. I jumped over him. I went to the lead pilot and I was like, look, dude, I don't have like something concrete other than like these 2 or 3 different things that happened. He did everything in the right parameters, but I'm just not feeling it, and I'm not trying to get him fired. I'm uncomfortable at work, and it's one of those things where it's a nice guy, such a good guy. And this is what hurt. This is what was hard is having to say like, I don't know what it is, but like, and honestly, like some of the things when you're task saturated, kind of like when your character is being, pushed to the edge, like, when you're pushed to the edge, your character, it comes out. And I think sometimes with pilots, in my ignorant, experience, I think sometimes like when they're task saturated, that's when, if they're a good pilot or a great pilot, comes out. And I really, he spooked me a couple times. And anyway, long story short, it was
how did they handle that when you went and chatted about it?
Didn't like it, and it was uncomfortable. And in the end, it was like, I really appreciate you bringing this up. I wish you'd have done it earlier. And I was like, well, we didn't take another flight. I mean, the moment that I realized this was a thing, I went through my chain of command, and he didn't do anything wrong, but there was just a handful of things. It's how he handled the stuff that he did. I don't know. And I think that there's a lot of us there that have those kind of conversations if we have to. And I don't know. I was raised by this. There's about 6 people on here that are my mentors back there. And I mean, they taught me like, look, if you don't feel comfortable, you got to just go, you got to tell them. And because what that'll do is, even if it's uncomfortable, then something comes out and now you're just talking better about it. And I think talking is probably one of the key factors in staying safe, making good decisions, because everybody's thinking something like, they're like, I don't feel good about this. Well, I don't know how to articulate it. Okay, well, just say what you start talking about it. Get the conversation going, and then maybe somebody like, you know what, I agree. I think we shouldn't because of X, Y, or Z or something. But I don't know. I mean, no program's perfect, and we're definitely not perfect. But I work with a great team. It
just seems badass. So then pull up that video pull up those 2 videos. This is your 145. So badass, dude.
She's big.
And this is just one of the promo videos for you guys. but that's just a huge aircraft. This is your set.
Oh, it's
you guys-
bigger now. That big the MCES where we work now it's 20 times
Look
that.
at that. Look at that.
There she is.
Oh my God.
I miss you.
Oh my God. This is an older. Did I say early 80s? I think I meant early 90s.
Yeah, it was early 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's PHI because that was your.
No, that's that we used to have PHI was our vendor, and
Yeah.
that is probably the Meridian aircraft. That's the aircraft that
Yeah.
I helped start.
And so you guys use MedTrans now,
We do.
and I've heard nothing but good things about them
Yeah, they're great.
as well. This is so awesome that you.
I
get
mean,
to be
PHI was
tied-
great too, and I honestly don't know the geopolitical issues or whatever if there are any. But when
Oh,
it came
you guys-
time, we got MedTrans, and they're awesome.
And you guys got fuel on the roof.
We did. That's been now we've just moved, and we were basically across campus. So if we want to
okay.
go to that's the critical care tower where the bottom of it's the ER and first floor surgery and so on and so forth. But if we wanted to go back there, we just take a Kubota or one of the vehicles and run over to the ER and hang out. It's about 3 minutes.
I mean, it's the dream, dude.
It's great. It's awesome.
I mean,
And
when people say, well, "How you doing?" You literally get to say, "I'm living the dream." That's cheesy. We're gonna cut that out.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So, what sports team do you absolutely despise?
oh wow,
Like,
Alabama.
and I want to make sure. Well, hold on. I just said that, but I want to make sure you understand what the word despise means to me.
All right, give
I'm
me
of the
definition.
mindset like I'm a diehard Rays fan. There's like 6 of us out there, but I hate the Red Sox and the Yankees so much
Why? Why do you despise them?
because they're in the same division as the Rays, and I want the Rays to win.
Right.
And we've had a lot of brawls over the years
Mhm.
with them, especially with Pedro and Yankees and Johnny Gomes.
He was such a humble guy.
Oh my God. Anyway, so this is a serious question. Which team do you despise?
Alabama,
Football? Why?
because they compete against LSU, and they beat them a bunch.
They didn't do
Right.
very well this weekend against Texas.
They did. That's right.
I also saw an overhead pick. Lennon, can you pull that up? This is their game day pick that they've been getting roasted for online. So, I mean, normally that thing would be full, but this just happened this weekend. Worst college game day crowds we've seen. What's your favorite animal? Non-human animal.
Muskrat.
A muskrat?
Mhm.
Have you even seen a muskrat?
I don't know,
Or
man.
are you just reaching for straws?
That was a straw. Let's. I don't know, man. I mean, dogs are pretty badass,
Okay.
but I mean, but that's like a Fred. If we're going to talk about something like I think a Wolverine is pretty badass.
A wolverine. Badass.
Angry things. I mean, angry little creatures.
Last one. What scares you the most?
Well, now every time my daughter like blinks, I think she's getting something caught in her airway. We have 3 of those choker remover devices.
Oh God, you purchased one of those?
Oh, I got 3 of them, dude. I got one in each car. I mean, that's my fear. Is her like, and she will reach into her little cup and grab a whole handful of Cheerios and quaff the whole friggin' thing.
Of course you will.
And then and she makes those faces, and I'm like, well, here we go.
Oh my God.
That scares me. I think before that, if we're going to talk about something selfish, I mean, just I want to make sure that I live in a way that would make my parents happy. And we lost my mom a couple years ago and lost my dad at 13. And so, when I wake up in the morning, like, all right, what am I going to do today? And I have like a little routine. It's that stuff. And so when I sit and I think about like, well, what am I messing up? I usually, it's the fear of, them not being proud of me.
Never goes away, does it?
No.
Never goes away. Lennon?
Mm.
What questions you got for Charlie?
Yeah, Lennon, what do you got for me? You want to talk about chemiosmotic phosphorylation or anything like that?
Holy shit.
Sure.
Okay. Well, it's about metabolism, oxygen and sugar. Actually, do you know that we're basically oxygen pimps, Lennon?
No.
Yeah, your dad and I. It's all we do is sling oxygen. So there's a story that metabolism, I like to tell it through a conjugal visit angle.
Define conjugal for Lemon.
In jail, if somebody's in jail and part of a married couple and the other person wants to go visit them for some one-on-one time, it's called a conjugal visit. So here's the
In
angle.
South America, they have to bring their own mattress. I saw that once on that prison show. Carry on.
So I brought up chemiosmotic phosphorylation. That's basically we breathe every other moment or so to bring in oxygen because we can't really store oxygen. So and then we eat every several hours or so because that's where we get sugar. Sugar and oxygen are this couple, and oxygen is sugar is trapped in a cell. In this case, not a prison cell, but more of like a actual body cell. So we bring in oxygen, and oxygen goes into our lungs, across our alveolar capillary membrane, into the red blood cell, pushed around to the tissues, gets into a tissue, finds not only a cell, but finds a mitochondria of a cell, and goes up, finds sugar, and makes sweet, sweet love to it. And heat, water, CO2, and energy pop out. And with every conjugal visit, as gross as it may be, there's a little residue. And that CO2, we have to get rid of CO2. Everything we do in emergency medicine is to that end, is to basically get oxygen delivered to tissues so those tissues don't go into acidosis. Everything we do, if we give a pressor, we're trying to help facilitate that union, which is chemiosmotic phosphorylation in the big textbooks. Everything we do in emergency medicine. So basically, in the end, we're oxygen pimps. Stickers are on the website.
Medupros.com. Lennon, final question goes to you. What do you got?
How does somebody even get to the Olympics?
Well, that's a good one. How does one even get to the Olympics?
You just buy a ticket.
Oh shit, dude.
So if anybody, like when people ask me that, that's a good question. You have to have a vision, man. And I think this is like, so let's not just the Olympics. It's anything that you really want to accomplish that other people really want to accomplish. And now you're in competition. You have to have a vision, and you have to know that you're about to pour into this big old bucket of sweat, blood, tears, and sacrifice. And then you're going to have to pour more into it. And you're going to have to, the sacrifice part is the hardest. You have to be willing to give up stuff to get where you're going. That's a physics thing, right? We've never gotten anywhere off this planet or anywhere across the planet without giving up something. You have to be ready for that. So I think that with a vision and a plan, and then you have to go do it. You have to do the parts that are hard and be ready to sacrifice. And only then, that only puts you in close to, you get close to it. And then you have to just keep reevaluating, revisioning, and that's about it. It's hard.
Man, that's well said, brother. Charlie, I appreciate you coming in, brother. We got to do this again. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It's been great.